Welcome back to the MUSB Dugout, everyone. I'm Scott Hall, and today I am joined by another Marshall Hall of Famer, a four-time All-American, and a woman who continues to keep breaking down barriers, Rachel Folden. Now, Rachel played for Marshall from 2005 through 2008 and gave future Herdsters some absolutely amazing numbers to chase after. So, Rachel, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Scott. It's good to see your face.
Well, it's good to see you too. Well, I mean, especially person to person. I mean, I keep seeing photos and obviously the news stories keep coming out. And which, by the way, before we take a look back, tell everyone what you've been up to lately.
Well, I just got hired by the Cubs, so that's pretty cool. And then the Major League Baseball and minor league baseball seasons both got shut down. So moved to Arizona, packed all my stuff up. Now I'm back in Indiana, and which this is home for me at the current moment. So just giving some lessons, but still working remotely for the Cubs. I get to go back in 2021, which is huge because a lot of people were laid off. So I'm pretty fortunate, pretty happy, and pretty excited to work in baseball and get a full season.
Well, that's great. And obviously we'll get to that here in a bit. So let's step into the Wayback Machine here a little bit for you, all the way back to Ballpark, California. And now, when did you start playing softball, and did you play any other sports when you were young?
Yeah, so I played almost all the sports I ever played before I played softball. Softball was like the last one. I thought softball was the dumbest sport in the world. I tell everybody this story. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. I played baseball growing up. So I played baseball till I was 12, loved it, played Little League. I was terrible. I was an absolutely hot garbage baseball player. Good defensively, couldn't hit. I think my last season of 12U ball, I went 0 for the season. So, and that's legit. That's on the books. I did not get a single hit all season.
Oh boy.
And so I was like, well, I'm done with baseball. I think being the only girl kind of weighed on me a little bit. And so I was at that time a really good basketball player, and I did judo too as a kid. And my basketball coach actually asked me to play softball right like the summer before we were going into high school. And so I was about 13, and he asked me to play softball, and I told him no. I thought it was the dumbest sport in the world. And he said, well, you're probably not very good anyway. And that was the only challenge that I needed to hear. And the rest is history. I ended up playing for him until I went to college. So I was late to the softball game, and I was a late bloomer because of it.
Now, so as far as trying to get to college, I mean, were you thinking about basketball, or did softball kind of really become it as you moved along through high school?
I didn't have a household that was like, you're going to go to college and play sports. Like my mom didn't go to college and my dad didn't go to college. So neither of them have degrees. So I always just played for fun, and it didn't start becoming about the college aspect of it until probably like my sophomore, junior year, maybe, when I realized like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. I started to hit for a little bit of power, and, I started playing travel ball, and that's kind of when I just kind of like thought, yeah, I guess I could play in college. And then I started getting recruited. And so it was really like colleges more showing interest in me, more so than myself, like going out and selling myself to colleges at first. And then, I wanted to go to UCLA. So, I shot for the moon, and I landed at Marshall. And honestly, like, I couldn't have been happier with that.
Well, who was the first Marshall coach that talked to you?
Shonda, Coach Stanton.
Okay.
So they were actually the first college to contact me, period. So I think that's where the love affair with Marshall began is, I started getting stuff in the mail, and I got stuff in the mail every single day. And that was my junior year. And so that was, when they recruit hard. I know you've seen that firsthand. So
oh, yeah.
I was like, damn, like this feels pretty good. Somebody wants me to go to their school really badly. So that's kind of where the love affair began. And then when I went on a visit, it was game over.
Well, what do you remember from your recruiting visit? How was that?
It was awesome. So Sussman was my host, and Noelle was her roommate.
Okay.
And so Noelle, she told me that because when I sleep hard, dude. Like, you can't wake me up. So Noelle had to wake me up in the morning, and she's like, Rachel, like, she was like trying to be ginger with me. It was, I guess that's what she told me. So it's kind of funny. I remember going to the football game and loving it. My most vivid memory was, so Randy Nielsen was on the team. She was a junior, and she was the only one in that class. And Abby was pitching to her. I think Abby at that time would have been a freshman, I think. And so
no, 4, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So Randy's up to bat. They're having like an inter squad scrimmage, or we're watching practice, and Abby gives up a hit to Randy, and everybody goes nuts, right? And the only one that's upset is Abby, because she just gave up a hit to a pitcher who probably hasn't swung a bat in like 3 years, right? So, which understandably so. So all of a sudden, like, everyone's going nuts, and here comes Shonda out of the dugout, and she's red hot. You know how she gets when she gets fired up about something. So she's red hot, and she starts telling, she comes down on Abby for like, hey, you need to be happy for your teammate. I know she hasn't swung a bat in 3 years, and you just gave up a hit, but she's still on your team. And, you know, and I just remember thinking in the stands, I'm like, I'm really going to enjoy playing here, because I'm going to be challenged for 4 years. And I just, like, I enjoy that kind of stuff. So even then, as like a 17-year-old kid, I remember thinking, this is the spot for me. This is awesome.
Well, that's good. I can definitely see Noelle trying to very carefully,
oh yeah,
you know, wake you up, because I mean, that's kind of how she was anyway.
Yeah.
And you say, you know, when you're out cold. I mean, heck, another one of your classmates, Samantha Rodriguez, I mean, her
man
thing. So that's kind of impressive. The 2 out of the 3 of you could just be out like
well,
that.
she can. I just sleep at night. Sam can sleep at any time of the day. So Sam just has like on demand narcolepsy. Like, she can just go to sleep and then just like wake up, and she feels totally refreshed, and I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I spend all my sleep time at night.
No, she was definitely really good at that. But now a lot of athletes talk about that adjustment period when they come in as freshmen, you know, and for you, you were over 2,200 miles away from home. Was there really any of that major adjustment period for you, mixing in with your new teammates and your new coaches that first fall?
Yeah, I missed home a lot. I didn't miss, like, you know, like my friends and my, you know, like being the love that I felt. I just missed, like, I don't know, because when you go away from school, and like I went to school, no, again, my parents, we've never sent a kid off to school. So I came with like 2 suitcases, and like that was it. I bought everything else when I got here. And so like feeling like unsettled, you know, when I first got there, I think was really hard for me. And then couple that with, like, it was, I mean, really physically demanding for sure. Like, you know, Coach Stanton put me through more physical demand than I've ever been put through in my life. The strength and conditioning department, Sanderson was our, you know, strength and conditioning coach. It was physically demanding, and I think that took a toll on me kind of emotionally, because I was tired all the time. And like, so that kind of stuff, once I got used to it though, you know, it was like I wanted to go away to school. So it wasn't like I had to get dragged out. You know, the only hometown school I wanted to go to was, again, UCLA. So like, other than that, I was like, I want to get out of the house. I want to go and like be an adult and like live my life. And so, you know, that I looked forward to it. I didn't feel like any sort of like, oh, I miss home, I want to go home.
But I mean, a lot of athletes, they talk about too, especially when they're playing a spring sport. It's like once they get through that fall and they get to season, then they're into it. Things seem to get better. And then obviously once then they come back for their sophomore season, you know, everything, they're all ready to go and all that. They're all used to everything now. But, you know, I talk about your freshman season a little bit, because the returners are obviously focused on trying to get back to the tournament after missing it the year before. And you jump right in and make and just absolute immediate impact. How was that for you?
Awesome. I mean, like, that's what I wanted to do. You know, like in my brain, I never thought that I wasn't going to do that, if that makes sense. Like I never, and it, you know, as 17-year-old me was probably like cocky as hell and like pissed a lot of people off. But like, you know, when you talk about like the mindset of like people who just like it, like elite athletes, like I never thought it wasn't going to work out that way. Like I never thought I wasn't going to be good at it. That never entered my mind. Like doubt never entered my mind. I just knew that I was going to be a good player, and I was going to do whatever it took to be a good player. So I was just looking for, you know, opportunities. And once I got them, I mean, it worked out. I stayed healthy, and I was able to swing the bat and do some damage.
Well, you could also do some damage with your arm. Talk about throwing out that runner against #1 Arizona. where they hadn't had a runner thrown out yet. I mean, the entire team was perfect, and then you gunned her down.
Yeah, I guess that was perfect pitch to throw on, and I got rid of it quick. And good tag by probably Jess would be my that's what I imagine being at shortstop. I don't think we had second base covering really a whole lot in my career until later. So, yeah, just perfect throw, perfect pitch to throw on, just perfect scenario. Probably a bad jump by the runner too, let's be honest.
I remember asking you about it after the game, and you said once you got there, you said you got down in your crouch going, come on, just do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Just do it.
Yeah, like that's what you want to compete, right? I just wanted to compete, like your best against my best. Let's see what we got.
Exactly. And I mean, you got to see it right there, throwing her out. But now let's jump ahead to the MAC tournament. What do you remember there from your freshman year in that wild game against Western Michigan? What do you remember from that one?
So I actually ran into the Western Michigan coach like 2 years ago. Karen Leakey is her name, I think. And yeah, so we were talking about, I was like, do you remember that game? She's like, dude, that game was like legendary. So we were talking about it. So what I remember is getting screamed at for, I think I pouted hitting an infield fly ball, probably. And then coach got thrown out and had to watch from right field. And that was like mildly comical, but like, I mean, it was an intense game. And I just remember like the weather was bad, like everything, like it was just like, it had everything. And it really reminded me a lot when I was watching in 2017, when the Dodgers and Astros were playing, that one game that they played that was like 11-10 or 11-9, where it just was like home run here, home run there, error, bomb here, walk here, hit. It was just like had everything in it. And that game. I remember watching that in my basement, and I'm like, God, this feels a lot like that MAC tournament game. It was just crazy. It was wild.
It really was. I remember Ryan Epling and I were calling the game, and when you came up that last time there in the 7th inning, Ryan had said the only thing more dangerous than an 0 for 3 Folden is an 0 for 4 Folden, and then of course you crank one out, and that made the score 13-4. I mean, who knew at that point that would end up actually being the game-winning home run when you're now up 13-4? But
yeah,
they just came absolutely storming back. Yeah, that was definitely one of the wildest games that I remember too. But I mean, so unfortunately the season ends with the championship game loss. What did you take away from that day, especially being a freshman?
I thought we were close. Like, we were. I think that. There was a dropped pop-up in foul territory, and then we ended up walking her, I think it was like Pogendorf or something, and then somebody got a game-winning hit against us at Miami, right? It was Miami that beat us.
Yeah, it was Miami.
And I remember thinking, like, we were one play away from, like, just getting to the next level, and we were close. And I was like, we were losing Randy, so I knew we were losing a pitcher, but I felt like we had the offense to, like, take us through the next year. And we got damn close the next year, too. And then, it's funny because I tell people all the time, like, I never made the tournament. I never made the tournament in my 4 years, and Marshall's made it, 3 or 4 times now? Twice. Yeah. And, like, that's just awesome. Like, so fun to watch them, and especially when I get to watch them on TV from my house. But, like, yeah, I experienced a lot of heartbreak in my 4 years. Let's put it that way.
I remember those, unfortunately, too. But so now your sophomore year, not quite getting to the conference tournament yet, but new conference, new teams, new players. Now, was that a big adjustment for you, seeing as how you had only been in the MAC for 1 year? Because I had talked to, Amanda and Jessica, where obviously they played in the MAC for 3 years. So this was all just completely brand new to them as far as new opponents and everything. Was that a major adjustment for you?
No, I don't think so. I think we played in nicer stadiums. That was probably about it. You had a little bit more money in the conference. We played at nicer stadiums. We stayed at nicer hotels. We had a little bit bigger budget. That was basically the only challenge, or the only change, but the challenge was the same, I think. Just trying to win your conference. Like, I didn't really see it as a big change. But again, I didn't live in the MAC for 3 years. I was just like, oh, we had 1 year of that. Now we got 1 year of this. Like, let's go.
Well, now describe your sophomore season, because you set the single season home run record at 18. The previous mark was 10. I mean, you broke it with your second home run of the day against Southern Miss on March 12th. I mean, you still had so much more of the year to go. I mean, what was that year like for you?
Well, I remember thinking I'm really happy that we played that tournament in Georgia because they had like 200-foot fences all the way around. And so like that was like, I think I hit 3 home runs in a game against Austin P.
Yep.
And like that one was just like, once that happened, I just remember thinking like, hitting home runs is a lot of fun. Like I should probably do more of this. And so then from then on, it became like I was trying, like 100% trying to hit them. And, you know, I think it helped in a weird way. It helped make my pitch selection better because I was zoning in on pitches that I could hit really, really hard versus like just putting balls in play. Cause I was always a really good contact hitter. And that was even in high school. Like I didn't have a lot of power in high school, but I was really hard to strike out, which is funny because I ended up being like, you know, everyone knows me as like this power hitter and stuff, but it was like I was a high average hitter first. And so once I started to get in the groove of like, I can actually try to hit home runs and pop one out every once in a while, that became the goal. But yeah, I remember thinking like, this is fun. Like I should try to do this more often. And it wasn't ruining or wrecking my swing at all. And so, you know, that became the goal. It's just like, I remember thinking to myself, like every stadium I play in, I want to try to hit a home run in that stadium. So like when we went to Georgia, I tried to hit a home run at Georgia. When we went to, you know, like all the places, I was like, I want to hit a home run in this stadium, and came pretty close. Like I really wanted to.
Well, when you hit 58 in your career, there's definitely a good chance that you were really able to spread them out. I mean, you did have several multiple home run games, and obviously that one with 3 against Austin P. And you know, I remember with that one, I'm sitting out in the outfield filming, and on your second one, the center fielder says, "Why are we pitching to this girl?" And then your third one, she turns around and just goes, as she's watching it fly, she just goes, "You've got to be kidding me." Of course, obviously saying the bad word. And then she sees me with the camera and I said, "Don't worry, the sound's not on. You're okay." But I think on your last at bat, they walked you, and she goes, "Oh, thank God."
With the bases loaded.
Yeah, exactly. It was like she didn't want to watch another one just go flying over her head that she has no chance to try and catch. So, but now, so after all of this, towards the end of that year, your walk numbers just begin to start ballooning. With about a month left in the season, that of course started a trend that went out through the rest of your career. Was it frustrating at all as a hitter to get walked that often?
At first it was. It had never happened to me before. So like watching that go on, and like, I'm like, gosh, man, I want to hit, you know, like I want to be the person that drives in the winning run, and I want to be the person, because that's like, those are the moments that you grow up and you dream about. And so when they started to get taken away, that's when I really feel like I learned how to be a really good teammate and understand, like, because at first it was frustrating and it was like all about me, right? Like, I want to hit, and you know, it just was disappointing. But then it became like, I really had a lot of fun watching Sam drive in a lot of runs, and, you know, that like hitting behind me, and that made me a better teammate. And it made me more aware of like my impact on the rest of the lineup versus just going from at bat to at bat of what I could control. So it was, I think I learned a lot going through that experience for sure.
Well, I mean, seriously, with you two, pick your poison. Do you want to let you smack one out, or do you want to let Rodriguez come and smack one out? So, I mean, it's take your choice here with that. But so another trip to the conference championship, and unfortunately another loss. Did you take away anything different from that game as opposed to what you took away from your freshman year?
No, they hurt the same. I think the manner in which we lost, though, was like a little bit more of like a nice little punch to the stomach. I feel like that year we lost every single game on a 3-run home run. So we gave up a lot of 3-run home runs that year. We walked a lot of people that year, and we gave up a lot of 3-run home runs. And it's not anything. It's just like, that was just coincidental all year. It's not anybody's to blame or anything. It's just how it went. And so watching it happen, and you're just like, oh, another one, and then your season's over. And so, you know, then you play the waiting game. Like, are we going to get in? Are we going to get into the conference tournament? Are we not going to get in? And, you know, we never got our at-large bid while I was there. our conference that year they only took the winner, which was Tulsa. And then the following year they took like 4 teams.
Yeah.
And we were not good that year, but they took like 4 teams. I'm like, oh, of course, the year that we're not good, they're going to take everybody. So.
Yeah. we have unfortunately watched that happen a couple of times being in Conference USA, and it's, again, very, very disappointing. But so now on to your junior year, your home run numbers drop just a hair from 18 to 14, but probably because you got walked 20 more times that year than you did the year before, including 14 intentional walks. I mean, as a competitor, what does that mean to you when you see the catcher just stand up and it just put the glove out to the side?
It's like, okay. Like, to me, so here's my thing, and I say this about the game now. I actually hate the, like, oh, we can just put them on first base. Like, Major League Baseball does that, and I get it's supposed to speed up the game and everything. But to me, it should be like, you should have to, like, announce to everybody, like, and everybody should have to watch you stand up and give up the at-bat and walk somebody. I just think it's like, I don't know. I started to enjoy it at the end. Like, what I would hate is when people would just, like, throw 4 balls, like, 7 feet outside, but the catcher was still in a spot. It's like, just stand up. Just stand up. Let me know so I can chill. Because otherwise, I'm like, adrenaline pumping, heart rate's up, thinking I'm going to get a strike. And then you realize, like, after 3 of them, you're like, I'm not going to get a strike. So, it's just a little bit easier for you just to stand up and say, here you go. But I don't know. Marshall used the intentional walk a lot too. Mm-hmm. And so we like to play for the force out. And so, like, watching that cat and mouse game go back and forth, like, so that's why I don't think it bothered me too much, because it was like, we did it too. So it was part of our strategy, just like it was part of everybody else's strategy.
Now, what did you think with Coach Stanton's decision there in April to put you in the leadoff spot?
Fine. I mean, like, I got more at bats. Like,
yeah.
It was kind of fun. I don't even know. Did I hit any leadoff home runs? I'm sure I did. I have no idea how many.
I'm pretty sure you did. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I have no idea how many. But that thought was kind of fun. Like, oh, you like start off the game with a home run, which is cool. And then if they walk me, it's like, at first though, it was frustrating because I'd get walked, and then we had JJ hitting behind me, and JJ could hit. Like, JJ hit like 500, but like, it was just like, okay, well, she's just gonna ground out, and I was like a freaking slug on the bases, so I was a stopgap, so I'm a force out every time, and now JJ's not getting on base. So then they moved Sam up behind me, and that's when stuff got fun, because it was like starting off the season, or starting off the game with like a 1-2 punch, and it's like you have to get through us to get to the rest of the lineup where you can feel like you can breathe a little bit, even though, I mean, like, there wasn't a year where I was there where we couldn't hit. So, we had some pretty damn good offenses while I was there.
And I wish I could remember where we were. You might remember it, because obviously, Coach Stanton, you say you were a slug on the bases, but, Coach Stanton still obviously loved, the runners in the corners, first and thirds, the double steal, all that sort of stuff. And I wish you could remember where we were when you said one time when you got walked and you're at first, and the coach, and you're on first by yourself, and the coach yells out, "Watch her, she'll go."
That was Louisville, which was kind of funny because they're like ranked, and they're like, "Watch her, she'll go." And I'm like, I think I had like 10 or 11 stolen bases, and all of them were on the backside of a first and third play. So, I mean.
Well, that's where they're just looking at the numbers, I guess they're not maybe seeing the full scouting report anyway. But yeah, I definitely remember you laughing about that. But, so unfortunately, again, season ends early. Now, what was your mentality going into your senior year?
I just wanted to be better than the year before. Like, that's it. Because we were bad my junior year. We were bad considering the 2 years of success that I had my freshman and sophomore year. I mean, we won like, I think like 38 and 36 games or something like that. Like, we had a lot of success. And then going into the next year, we basically finished like 500. It was not fun. And I just remember thinking, I want to be better. And, like, just whatever I could do. And I know that Coach and I had talked, and we in the off season, and then leading into the fall, and like, cause I was not a healthy person at all. Like, I was a big girl, didn't eat well, didn't really take care of myself. And so Coach pulled me into her office and said, like, yeah, we need you to get like on track with like, get your weight under control, get your nutrition under control. So I started meeting with the strength and conditioning staff with Coach Roos, and like got put on a meal plan, started eating better, got in better shape. And so I think that was like kind of the start of like just me thinking like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be better this year than we were last year. And like tried to involve everybody. Like we had Folden's Fat Camp. I don't know if you remember that, where I would go to like extra workouts, and if people would come with me, we'd call, like, hey, you coming to Fat Camp today? And we would like, I think I still owe like 6 people t-shirts. So if anybody watches this and I owe you a Folden's Fat Camp t-shirt, just tell me and I'll make it for you. I for real will. Cause I told them if they came to like 3 workouts, I'll give you a Folden's Fat Camp t-shirt. So, and just having fun with it. Right. Like, yeah. Okay. Like coach challenged me, which it wasn't easy to hear at first, but then it was like, it was totally necessary. Like I needed to do it. So that was the kind of the start of just like trying to put myself in a better position to be better for the rest of the team.
Well, good. And, you know, well, then how about this? You get 2 weeks into your senior season and you get drafted by the NPF 7th overall. I mean, what did that mean for you?
That was cool because it meant my career wasn't going to be over, you know, like I really, really, really wanted to play pro ball. Like when the Twins went and played and Noel went and played, like it just looked like it was so much fun. And I was like, you know, watching them go and do that, that's when it started to sink in like, oh, there's actually like a place to play after this. Like, that's awesome. And, you know, hearing their stories and watching them play and like, you know, they're on the same team as Jenny Finch. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. Like, you know, I want to go play. I want to go experience this. And so when that happened, I was like, dude, this is like the coolest thing ever.
Oh, yeah. We obviously loved it getting to see you get picked. I mean, it still seems strange to me that they were doing the draft basically before everybody's senior year finishes, you know, because you could potentially miss out. I mean, like, say if you'd only been a part-time player for 3 years and then your senior year you absolutely exploded, you know, they might potentially miss out on you. But obviously you made your impact right from the start, so they were able to know that thing. But so now your senior year, you're rolling along. You're getting walked still, but you are definitely still thumping the ball. I mean, you become the 2nd player in team history to combine for over 30 extra base hits. You're batting over 400. I mean, how were you feeling going through that season, especially after all the work that you had put in before that you had talked about?
There was like a stretch during my senior season, to be honest, where I felt like nobody could get me out. Like I felt like I was like, if I look back on my career at pro ball included, that season was where I felt the most locked in. Like I felt just great about everything. I was probably because I was healthier. Like honestly, in my playing career. So if you take college and pro, that was when I was in the best shape. So it's funny now because like now I take it seriously. Like now I'm, you know, I'm not like I'm 50 pounds lighter than when I played pro ball. And so like now I take it seriously and I understand the value of it, especially when I'm coaching kids. But like that, when I look back at it and why I felt so good is like that season I didn't go through that like mid-year slump that I went through every single year. Because I mean, you get beat up, and I was heavy. I was still heavy, but I was just I ate better. I was in better shape. So I think that's, you know, how I felt. Like I literally felt unstoppable.
How did you like playing at the new Dot Hicks Field?
That was cool. I remember we opened it in the most embarrassing way possible, though. So Houston rolled into town. I think they were ranked in the top 10, and they were real good.
They were top 25. I don't think top 10, but they were definitely top 25.
They ended up that year, though, being like top 8 or 10 at some point during the year. And they roll into town, and we're like, you know, Chamblin is their pitcher, and she's really good. And, like, man, we had everybody at the park, right? That whole parking lot was filled with people. The stands were filled with people. People were lining up down outside of the fence. And, like, we just got crushed. I think we lost, like, 8-0, 8-0, and 15-1. And I remember, like –
first game was actually, I hate to say it, 17-2, if I remember.
There it is. There it is. Like, and then we lost 8-0, 8-0. I think we played 5 innings. It was awful.
Yeah. All three of them were 5-inning games. Yeah, that was kind of the worst team to be able to open up your brand new park.
Yeah. So, and to add insult to injury, I fouled 3 straight balls off of my shin, 3 in a row, and then struck out on the next pitch. So that was fun. But yeah, that was brutal. And we were in a bad place as a team then too, because we ended up having like a team meeting the very next day, and like it was rough. That we were in a rough place then. But yeah, that is my memory of opening up Dot Hicks Field. But getting to practice on it for the first time, seeing the, like, you know, the waterproof dirt was pretty sweet because we had played on it. just like knowing that we didn't have to walk to the football field to practice anymore was like a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Now, do you remember picking up your first career triple against UAB, and then the very next game getting your first career inside the park home run at Morehead State?
Yes. So that I tell this story all the time to my girls, because like I have a girl that's committed to Wisconsin that trains with me, and she's like, she's super fast. And so she's like, triples, like we have a hit tracks and it tells you hit a triple. And she's like, I'm a triples machine. And I was like, no. She goes, how many career triples did you have? She asked me this last night. And I was like, 1. And she goes, really? And I said, yeah. I said, I hit like a line drive off of the wooden fence, because at that time we had a wooden fence up at the dot, and it bounced straight back past the center fielder, and I ended up getting a triple. And I said, and I almost hit another one the next day because I got thrown out at home. That inside the Parker against Morehead, I got thrown out at home, and Shonda came and reversed the call, so I ended up getting a home run out of it because it was an obstruction call. So, and I was out by like 10 feet. But I've seen Shonda reverse 2 calls, once as a college player and once as a pro, on tags at the plate, and those never get reversed. And I've seen her reverse 2 of them, and both, I don't know how she does it, but I've seen her reverse 2 calls, and that's pretty impressive. But I was the fortunate recipient of one. The other one, I was the unfortunate recipient of when she was coaching for the Racers and I was on the Bandits, and we had a call reversed at home plate too. And then Mickey Dean got thrown out because he was pissed, but it was funny.
Gosh.
So like, I don't know how she does it. I've never seen that call get reversed since, but I've seen her reverse 2 of them, and that was one of them.
She's very good. She's very good at a lot of that stuff. You know, she can get an umpire to kind of, you know, definitely rethink something, or, you know, what, especially if she ever says, okay, get out the rule book. That's kind of the
game over. Dude,
yeah,
she's like a savant. Like, so I can remember, I think I have a pretty good softball memory. Like all these stories that you're telling, like I can remember a lot of details, but I can only remember them about like things that happened to me. Shonda can remember every detail of everybody. Like if you sit in a room and tell stories with her, she remembers everything. So like the rule book, I'm sure she has it memorized. She's like, turn to page 47, line A or whatever. Like I would not shock me if that's how that conversation went down.
Well, I'm definitely going to eventually have to get her on for an episode. I figured I'd probably wait a little bit longer until maybe Indiana gets out of 20-hour a week, so that way she has a little bit more time on her hands, you know, to be able to do this. Because, yeah, I imagine the 2 of us could probably talk for a while.
For sure.
Especially as many stories as she'll be able to remember. But, you know, and sorry to bring up, you know, another heartbreaking moment, but talk about that last game against East Carolina in the conference tournament there your senior year.
I remember my last at bat pretty vividly. I think I grounded out to the shortstop, and I remember thinking, I think that might be my last at bat ever. And that was like so depressing for me because I love to go up to bat. And I remember thinking like, because we were better than we were my junior year, but not great. And I remember thinking like, I don't think we're going to get in after this. I think this is probably it. And, you know, like getting knocked out, I remember like intentionally staying in the dugout and like watching them like kind of celebrate that win and just kind of soaking it in and being like, gosh, like I can't wait to like, I hope to God I never have to feel like this again, where it's just like, it feels like it's over. Now I had a place to play, so I was going on to play pro ball, but for the girls that weren't, like I felt so bad for them, you know, and like that was just one of those things where it was just like, it sucked big time. But I also knew that like, okay, I have another place to play after this. So it wasn't like, I didn't have that feeling of finality that I know a lot of my teammates did.
Well, and then obviously too, with that year, it was the first year of single elimination because, you know, the year before in 2007,
that's right,
you all had lost the first game. You were able to keep going. You won one, and then you lose your third game. So now you're eliminated. I mean, so this was really the first time where it was you lost, and now it's done. You know, you don't get their opportunity to come back. So I'm sure that definitely made it hurt just a little bit more. That you, like you said, you knew this was it for you at Marshall.
Yep. Yeah, that was. I forgot that it was single elimination.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was the first year they did it. So now your college career has ended. You completely rewrite the team record book. You're the first All-American in team history, numerous awards, but now it's on to the NPF. How was that experience for you?
Well, that was cool because, like, you know, in college, by the time I had got to the end of my career, I knew that I was like one of the better players in the country. Like, at least I felt that way. But now it was like, okay, but like, let's see how good I am really, because now I'm going to face like legendary players and like players that like, you know, Kat Osterman and Monica Abbott were in college while I was in college, but like we played Monica Abbott once. We never faced Kat Osterman. Obviously I had never faced Jenny Finch because she's older than me. And like, so going and being like, I have to face these pitchers now was like such a cool opportunity and a cool challenge. And like at that time, like I just wanted to be the best player ever. Like I wanted that in college. I wanted to be the best player ever. And like, so again, kind of like going into my freshman year, like I never thought that I wasn't going to be, like I never thought it wasn't going to work out. I just was really excited for the opportunity.
Now, going along then with continuing your playing career, when did you start thinking about wanting to coach?
I wanted to coach while I was at school in Marshall. So okay. I started off as a math major because I wanted to teach. So I was a math major for 3 years. Between my sophomore and my junior year, I realized like math had started to like get into like the theoretical spot, and it didn't make sense to me. And so I remember thinking like I really liked my history classes, and I had an awesome professor, Dr. Kat Williams, who you know really well. She's a big softball fan.
I started taking too. She was wonderful. Oh yeah.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I started taking like women's history classes and women's sports classes, and like just like, you know, because she's head of the women's studies department. And so I started to get like, I really recognized my impact as like a female and like a female athlete and like someone who could possibly have a leadership position. And so I at that time too started to give lessons on the side, like over at what's now the HIT Center. That's like, you know, 2 steps away. I'd started to give lessons there and at, you know, people's barns and garages and things. And like, I had started to really like develop a love for coaching and like the relationship building that came with it. And so I remember sitting on the bus with Mandy Lears, and I said, I'm gonna be a head coach by the time I'm 26, watch. And she's like, why 26? And I was like, I don't know, I give myself 4 years after I graduate. Like, I don't know why I came up with that. I said, just 4 years seems like a reasonable number. And I wanted to be a college coach. And then when I went to go coach in college, I realized I really still love coaching, but I really hate recruiting. I hated it. I don't know how coaches do it. Like, respect, like Shonda's a great recruiter and like, that's great. But like, I absolutely hate sitting in a field all day in questionable weather and watching so many players that I know are either going to be too good to convince to come to my tiny school, or like, just, you know, I don't know. It didn't interest me. The whole sales, I'm not big on sales. Like, it's just not my thing. So I hated it, and I realized I like to coach. So that's when I got out of college coaching. I did that for 3 years, and then I got out of college coaching. I went from Holy Names to Valpo, and when I got out of college coaching is when I just started to give lessons, and I was like, this is what I want to do.
Well, I just talk a little bit about, you know, coaching at Valparaiso. I mean, you know, how was it then to come back to Huntington and get to play Marshall in a doubleheader? Well,
it would have been a really, really good time. And then the pregame festivities got the best of me. So we had a contest, which theory is cool, but in application is kind of stupid, where it was like, let's pick a random guy from the stands and see if he can get a hit off of the pitcher. And it was like, you know, pretty damn sexist, to be honest, but like, I get the premise of it, of like, look how good of athletes we are and all that stuff. Well, they picked a guy that was like, I guess, an ex-baseball player. He had a decent swing. He was sitting rise ball all day. He swung over the top of it, fouled it straight down. My hand was here, and he popped the fingernails off of these 2 fingers. And so I couldn't hold a bat. I couldn't do anything. And then I go up to bat, and Shonda's out there calling pitches. And so what do they throw me? They throw me like 4 in a row inside pitches, and Andy's pitching. And so like, I'm like sitting here with like a hurt hand and like trying to get in there, and I tried to tough it out. I ended up only getting 1 at bat, and then I think I popped up to the second baseman and came out of the game. But like, so it would have been really cool. I was really hyped for it. And then like that happened, and I was like, that was my last professional at bat. How about that? That was the last at bat I got paid for.
Well, you're actually recalling a different experience, because I was asking about when you came down to Huntington for a doubleheader when you were coaching at Valpo. You're talking about
when I was coaching at Valpo. I thought you meant when I was playing in the NPF college tour.
Yeah, the NPF All-Stars. Yeah.
Oh, the coaching against them was fun.
Yeah, that
was a good time. Marshall beat us in the first game, and I was like creamed us. We didn't play well at all. And I remember my head coach at the time, Randy Schneider, he goes, "How'd that make you feel?" And I go, "Honestly, I'm embarrassed." And he goes, "Well, tell him that." So I told the team, I was like, "I'm embarrassed." I'm like, "If I went to go play in any of your hometowns, I would give you all I got." And I said, "I felt like you guys just mailed it in." And we were on a spring break trip, and we were our spring break at Valpo last 2 weeks. So we were on a bus for 2 weeks.
Oh.
And this was like the tail end of it. And so they were tired, and I get it. And so we ended up coming back and playing a really good ball game after that, which was fun. But yeah, that was like, I remember thinking like that was fun. And it was so surreal to be like, this is my coach over there and I'm over here, and like we have to coach against each other. It was just wild.
Well, in the NPF All-Stars, when we got to play in that exhibition, I had to be the last van to try and bring players over, because we played it in Charleston, and I had to wait for players to get out of that last class. And so the thing was, I don't really remember like you getting hurt beforehand. Like I remember seeing you obviously getting checked out and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't even see any of that happen. And then somebody told me, "I think Folden might have broken a finger." I was like,
yeah,
he's gonna be able to play, and they don't have another catcher. I was like, oh, well, this is good.
Yeah. Who had to catch that game?
Taylor went. Yeah, she ended up filling it.
Yep.
You all. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, we get you to come back and coach, Amanda Williams, Coach Williams, with the team. She's obviously, you all are getting to play against Marshall. Yep. And then you ended up having to bail out. So yeah, I don't even remember any of that, the pregame festivity. I just remember them checking your hand.
Right.
Okay, so you talked about how you really didn't like the recruiting game, but you obviously love to teach, you love to coach. So when did you open Folden Fastpitch? And was that really just kind of the driving force behind that, of how much you really wanted to be able to just teach and coach kids?
So yes and no. So a little bit about like how this all went down. So most people, when they're done with playing their college sport, they deal with that identity crisis of like, I'm no longer so-and-so the softball player. I'm just so-and-so the regular person, and I have to get adjusted to that life, right? I got 5 years of pro ball to delay that experience. And my last year of pro ball, I remember feeling like burnt out. And not because I didn't love playing. Like, I would play now if it paid better. Truthfully, I would play now if it paid better. But I remember thinking, I just don't want to have to move somewhere and then move back and then move again and then move back, because it was always being displaced. And I just wanted to settle down. And I was like, at that time, I was dating my ex-wife, and I was like, I just want to feel settled, and I want to be done, and I want to just be in one place. And so I had a pretty awful coaching experience my last year at Valpo. The head coach ended up like doing some pretty inappropriate things. And so I ended up quitting, and I wanted to just coach. And so I was like, okay, but like, I don't want to move again. So now what do I do? And I had given lessons, and I loved giving lessons, and I had done like camps and clinics. And I was like, well, I'm just going to do that. And in the meantime, I'm going to like just go get a part-time job somewhere to just make enough money where I can build up my clientele. And so I ended up going and getting a job at Best Buy. I was selling cell phones at Best Buy. I was slinging phones at Best Buy. And I remember that was like, I went through like a little bit of like what the heck is going on in my life? Like I'm on top of the world as a softball player and an athlete, and I'm working for $9.50 an hour at Best Buy selling cell phones. And that was like an ego, just like, killer for me. That like everything just came, like my confidence was just like, dang, dude. And so, but I started to get really, really, like I started to get it back the more lessons I gave, and it ended up like taking off. I only worked there for 4 months. My lesson business took off. I was really fortunate to get to use the facility that I was able to use. And like, So everything started to kind of like come back a little bit, but that was a really difficult 4 months for me. Just understanding like, I'm no longer like Rachel Folden, this badass softball player. I'm just like Rachel Folden, who's like trying to make a living. And I'm like, holy cow, like it was just rough. So unfortunately, like I fell in love with coaching, giving lessons and helping people get to college if that's where they want to go. If they don't want to go there, just coaching them because it's the best part of their day. And I started to fall in love with like my players and their parents and their families and just coaching them and building these relationships. And, it took off from there, and I'm still doing it and it's still operating. But that was in like 2010, 11, and 12 is when I started to like go hard at lessons. And then after 2012 was my last pro year. After that, it just became my full-time job.
Well, what has it meant to you to be able to see a lot of those players that you've coached be able to try and live out their dreams and being able to go to college and keep playing?
I mean, it's awesome. Like, especially the ones that, like, I think travel ball has kind of like streamlined the process for people, right? So like, now if you get on a certain travel team, like you're going to play at the next level somewhere, whether it be Division 1, 2, 3, NAI, it doesn't matter. You're going to play somewhere. And so, you're just kind of trying to help them along and making sure that like when they get there, they're good. So that they don't just like get there and sit the bench, because that would be an unfortunate experience for them. But like watching families who like mine, where I couldn't afford college, and watching them get college paid for and reaping the benefits of like all the hard work and all of the sacrifices and lack of family vacations and lack of Christmas presents and things like that, the same stuff that I had to deal with, watching them get their college paid for or getting a discount is like, that's the coolest part to me. Just because like, I mean, especially right now, like college is like ridiculously expensive. Yeah. So, and it just keeps getting worse. So like watching them be able to play for 4 more years and not have to have that, that ego hit at 18, but getting to have it at 22 when they're maybe a little bit more equipped of, hey, you're no longer like this badass softball player. That's been pretty fun.
Well, good. Well, I talk about how the opportunity with the Chicago Cubs came up.
So people ask me this, like, did you want to like work in baseball? Did you know you want to work in baseball? Did you apply for the job? And the answer is, I've always wanted to work in baseball. I've always enjoyed baseball, but I've always had this love for coaching women, right? So I've always wanted to coach women because I think like sports can help you find your voice, and they can help you find your confidence as a female that like when the rest of the world is not going to give you that, right? So I've always been a huge advocate of that. And so I've always liked baseball. I've always coached my girls like boys, to be honest, like teaching them how to swing like major leaguers and things like that. And then I got approached, this was in 2017, I think. I got approached by Elite Baseball, which is a company in Chicago, and like really big baseball company. They train pro guys, they train youth, they have travel baseball teams, and they wanted to expand into softball. And so their president of that company, his name is Justin Stone. And there's a guy that lives out, they're in Chicago, which is an hour away, but there's their lead instructor, their number 2 guy he lives out by me. And so he had been hearing about me through word of mouth. He kind of started like following me on Twitter. And so we met, and they wanted to expand into softball. And so they said, hey, do you want to be the face and help us be like basically our fast pitch director? And I said, well, I don't want to stop giving lessons, and I don't want to move to Chicago, but I want to be involved in whatever you want to do to expand to softball, because you guys do a really good job in baseball, but I also want to be involved in the baseball side. I said, you can't leave me out of the baseball side. And he goes, okay, that's fine. So then I started to go up there like once or twice a month, spend the day there, learn everything. I learned how to use all of the tech tools. I learned how to do movement screens. I learned basic knowledge in like, anatomy and physiology, which I think every hitting coach on the planet should learn, and just learned how to coach better. And so, but because I was always surrounded by them, we built this relationship and we started working together. So then we started offering consulting services to like college baseball and college softball teams. And I got to be involved on those. And once the president, his name's Justin Stone, like I said before, he was the consultant for the Cubs. He was a consultant for the Cubs. And then he got hired as the director of hitting. So I remember we were driving to Ann Arbor to work with University of Michigan. And so I got to meet Hutch, which was awesome because she's legendary, right?
Yeah.
So I got to meet Hutch. And then on the way up there, he goes, he's like, by the way, I got hired by the Cubs as the director of hitting and I need minor league coaches. You want to work for me? And I was like, this is honestly, I go, yeah, I would love to. That sounds like a great idea. And so when it became time for him to hire, I was suddenly very well qualified because I had used all the tech. I've been coaching forever and, hitting coach, it was just like a natural fit. And I knew how to do everything that he wanted to implement. So I suddenly became very well qualified for a hitting coach in the minor leagues. And I'm also the lead lab tech, which is just a fancy way of saying I know how to turn everything on and make sure it's working. So it was just kind of I got in line with the right people. And when the time came, God paid me back a little bit for all the hard work, which was awesome.
Now, what has that experience been like since you got hired? Now, I mean, unfortunately, things obviously got canned a little bit, back in February and everything. And I mean, even minor league seasons just got dropped totally. But I mean, still, what has that been like for you?
The people I get to rub elbows with on a daily basis is like insane. Just the interview process was wild. Like, I know for a fact none of my other hitting coach peers had the same experience, but I had to go for an interview with Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer. Like that was part of my interview. And I'm just like, Forbes top 50 executive in the world. Like I just got to meet with them just casually and, just talk to them. Like no big deal, no pressure. And so I had to meet with them. And basically it was like I had been recommended for the position. I had to just not let them have any inkling that I couldn't handle all of the Twitter crap that was going to come my way. Right. And that was, could I handle what was going to come my way? And so, just starting there, it's like, okay, like, I guess I'm going to go work for the Cubs now. And so, I got just kind of acclimated. Everything from then on was just like a dead sprint, I got to go to Arizona. I moved down there for instructional league. It was a 6-week instructional league, and we had 2 groups. And it was just like, they don't care about your feelings. They don't care that you're a girl. Nothing. It's like, here's our practice plan for the day. Don't be late to practice. Here's what you need to do. Make sure you do everything that you need to do. And so it was very much like just trial by fire, just learning everything and learning to keep up and to manage your day. And just when I got into a groove, the world shut down. And so, that was unfortunate. I think we had instructional league and then we had 2 or 3 days of minor league spring training. So after big league camp breaks and they go off to go play their season, we just started minor league spring training. And so the major leaguers had just finished like what would have been like their second to last game. And they were supposed to play the Dodgers that night. I had family in town, and because my family's a bunch of Dodger fans. And so we had family in town and we ended up not playing that game. And then the rest of the world canceled their season. Yeah. So I had to just kind of sit in quarantine for a while we all tried to figure out what the heck we were going to do. I read a lot. I worked on my Spanish, just tried to keep myself busy. I cooked a lot. I cleaned a lot. And then I was just like, you know what, it's minor league season's canceled. So I moved back up here and I'm just giving lessons, running my business.
Okay. Well, and I'm sure obviously having fun with your dogs. I bet they probably enjoy
they're the best
desert time out there.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I just the amount of people that I got to meet, the coaching staff and how they deal with guys that are that talented, because for the most part, I work with people who are, 10 to 18 years old. And so they're moldable, they're malleable, and they're they're impressionable. When you work with guys that are 22 to 24 that already have had success, it becomes okay, it's a feeling out process. So my communication skills got a lot of they got challenged this year, and for the better, for sure. The more I coach, the less I say, because I know how beneficial that is to just let people figure stuff out on their own versus like always trying to be the voice that's like telling them what to do. And, you know, I learned a lot of that over the last year, and just watching guys go about their business and like listening to what they feel versus what's actually going on. And, you know, listening to the coaching staff, which most of them had some sort of like minor league experience or major league experience in a lot of cases. So just the people I've had a chance to meet and rub elbows with, like I am 100 times a better coach now. And I can't even imagine what that's going to look like, hopefully, if I get to stay in baseball for another few years.
Well, and actually talking about that, and you know, mentioning that your family, a bunch of Dodger fans, so I'm sure you all enjoyed that World Series win.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What would that get to mean to you to be a part of something like that, whether it's with the Cubs or if you end up working with another team?
I mean, that's what you're in it for. Like, you know, I don't think I've ever lost sight of the fact that like it's about competing. You know, like at the end of the day, you're trying a better position to compete. And so I'm still competitive as hell. Like I want to win in that. Like I think that's just awesome to like be able to say like, I don't have to be the person on TV with the picture with the World Series trophy to feel that, right? It's like, I just want to, it's like our organization is better than your organization. That's awesome. Like I want to be that. I want to be that organization that's like on top for 1 year.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that's got to be absolutely incredible, but
it looks like one hell of a party too. Like, let's go. Like I'm ready for it.
Yeah. I mean, even just what you see on the field, just the celebration of everybody together on the field, you know, it's where you get to have that moment of everything we just worked for has just come to fruition. So, you know, but now time for a little bit of fun. So what are some of your best memories from your playing days, either on or off the field?
I don't know. I remember like the Thunder playing at the loudest in the bus, and we'd shake the bus. Like that was fun. And that was late. Like that was later. That was like Sophie and JJ, and like that was like because they were the party crowd, right? So like they brought the fun to the team, which was awesome. So that, and then like getting to just like, I don't know. I mean, I can think of so many things that like just little things that happen. Like I remember one night we were sitting in the dorm room, and it was right before we were all about to go home for Thanksgiving. And like, so I was like, hey guys, let's all write down, or let's all talk about what we're thankful for. And it was like cheesy as hell, right? And so we sat around, and it ended up being like we were up till 3 a.m. just talking. And it was like me and Dee and Sam was there, and we were all like, the whole block of the dorm room ended up in our room, and we were just chatting. Like there was no like, you know, it's just like one of those nights where it was just something special happened. So I can remember things like that. Yeah, just conversations going on. I remember Shonda calling me into her office at 3 a.m. when we got back from Tennessee, asking me if I wanted to transfer because people were talking in the stands about how I was going to go to Tennessee next year, apparently.
Oh God.
I remember that. That was like, that went through me for a loop. I'm like, huh? Like what's going on? There's just so much that like I think about. Halloween was always a good time because we'd all get dressed up. I was a Oompa Loompa one year. That was fun. Yeah, like, I don't know. I don't remember it being anything other than a really, really good time. Like if I could do my college experience over and you could tell me I could go anywhere I wanted, I'd go to Marshall 100 times out of 100.
Well, good. Now, do you remember doing Ghost Ride the Whip before games?
When you get a new car and you're feeling like a star, okay, what you gonna do? Ghost ride it. Ghost ride it. When you get a new car and you're feeling like a star, okay, what you gonna do? Ghost ride it. Ghost ride it. Pull up, hop out, all in one motion, dancing on the hood while the car's still rolling, stunting.
I remember that. I remember the Foldies. The Foldies were fun.
I was actually to get to that next. So what brought that on? What started that?
So when, because I don't think I started that my freshman year. I think I did that my sophomore year. I remember somebody got slighted out of an award, and I think it was Sam. I think like it's something like she didn't make like all conference or something, and I was like pissed about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, I'm just gonna make an award for everybody. Because at first the idea was like, well, I'm just going to give her an award because she should have got it. And then I was like, well, I'm just going to give everybody an award. And it was like kind of like the yearbook awards where it was like, most likely to do this. And it's like this stupid stuff, and I just was like trying to be funny and, just at the same time, like just kind of draw attention to like it's the end of the year awards. So it just became something fun for me to do and gave me something to do on the bus.
Oh yeah. No, you gave me a couple. I still have them.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if others still have them too.
I would hope so. I mean, I always look forward to it. And then when you ended up giving me one, it was kind of, ooh, okay.
Yeah, dude. You're like as much of an OG to this program as anybody else. I can't think of anybody who would be more ingrained in the history of Marshall softball than you. I think you've weaved in through multiple coaching staffs now. Like you've got a really, really cool perspective and a cool career that you've taken. And it's been fun to watch. So I'm a big fan of yours. I think you've earned every bit of you earn every bit of recognition you ever get. And I hope you get a lot of it because you deserve it.
Well, thank you, Folden. I really appreciate it. Well, that was one reason why when I started doing these videos, I had to start off with talking to Coach Byrne because she was the first coach, and I never got to talk to her before. So she's the only coach we've had that I haven't experienced here.
See?
Yeah. I've been through all the rest of them. So, yeah. But so going back to a coach though that you played for, I mean, what was it like to play for Coach Stanton?
It's demanding. Like you don't get a lot of like relaxing time, which is perfect for me because I am just like high energy all the time, want to do things, want to be challenged, constantly want to learn. And she did every bit of that. And I think where Coach Stanton, in her value of making her such a good coach, is she cares about you and she will always care about you. She cares about you, Scott. She cares about me. She cares about our well-being. She will always care about us. And I think that once you develop that level of care, after that, everything just becomes like, what's your style, right? Once I know you care, it's like I can adapt to your style as long as I know that you have my best interests at heart. And I think what Coach Stanton's really, really good at is she will get, if you're willing, she will get the best version of you out of you. And so she's not going to try to change you into what she wants. She's just going to try to make you the best version of yourself. And, that oftentimes means that she's very, very demanding. And that's fine. I think, it takes the right player. I think, like things are changing generationally, right? And I think a lot of people give the generation now of players a bad rap for being soft or for being like not understanding. And I don't think that's true. I think the generation of kids that are in college right now have way more to deal with than I ever did. I think there's so much more going on in their lives than ever were in my life. And so we have to give them, the benefit of the doubt there. But I think what she's really good at is like, and you've seen it because I know you've seen her with different classes, like the morphing of she used to be this coach and then now she's this coach. Like even if you're just talking X's and O's, like she loves to run and loves to play that like pressure offense. But like when I was there and Sam was there, like she held back from that because that wasn't the type of team she had, and we didn't have the pitching at that time to win a 1-run ball game, right? We had to score a lot of runs. And I think she, would oftentimes like let Sam and I play for the home run or the double versus trying to, squeeze and run and slap and do all that stuff. And so she's very, very adaptable in that regard. And like watching her coach has really taught me a lot of like how you deal with different players. You got to treat everybody fairly, but you don't treat them the same. And she treated everybody fairly, but she didn't treat everybody the same. She was very much valued the individual, and I will always appreciate that.
Talk a little bit about playing with your fellow classmates, Dee and Sam, and all three of you coming in from California. Yeah,
I mean, we were a little bit like elitist because we were from California. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like we thought we were cooler than everybody else. It's funny because I like honestly now, like I have no desire to move back to California at this point. I have a desire to move to somewhere warmer, but not necessarily California. But yeah, we all thought we were cool because in our mind, we're like, well, we played the best brand of softball ever because we're from California. And so like we thought we were cool and we had that connection built up and, just really, really good people, like good friendships that we built. We had a lot of fun because we lived together. I lived with Dee or Sam, I think, all 4 years. Aside from my freshman year, I lived with Ashley Nickel. I lived with Peanut, but sophomore through senior year and into my 5th year, I lived with one or both of them. And so getting to know them on that level and just the friendships that we have, it's like when we see each other, you know, like I've seen Sam quite a few times since we graduated, and like it's just like, you know, it doesn't skip a beat. We stay in each other's lives and like stay updated and stuff. So yeah, I think my class was a lot of fun. Like, you know, we had fun, but we were like not crazy fun, like not where we would like get in trouble, you know, or get each other into trouble. But we would have a lot of fun doing nothing. A lot of times just sitting at our house and just hanging out.
I will definitely say the three of you were a lot of fun to watch together. You know, just watching the three of you play, and then obviously watching the three of you, you know, off the field when we were traveling and all that. You know, you all were a lot of fun. But now, describe your emotions when you found out that you were being inducted in the Marshall Athletics Hall of Fame, class of 2019, and also going in with a fellow MUSB alum in Nicole Corrigan.
I think I was really excited. So I get a phone call from a 304 number, and like I kind of anticipated it, right? Like I'm not gonna like be like, wow, it was a complete shock. Like I kind of anticipated it, but I got a call from a 304 number, and I was like, I remember, so I was with my wife at the time, and I was like, Tracy, I said, watch this, and I put the call on speaker. And so I took the call in front of her, and because I knew it was coming, and it was, you know, Mr. Hamrick calling me to tell me I had been inducted. And I was just like, this is so cool. Like I get to go back and I get to experience this as a Hall of Famer, which is awesome because I had been to both Jessica and Amanda's Hall of Fame inductions. And so, you know, getting to go back and for it to be mine. And then what I immediately thought of was I'm like, I have to write a speech, right? Which is not a problem for me. Like I love to talk in front of people. But what hit me the most was I finally got a chance, like I would finally get a public chance to say thank you to everybody who had had a journey, you know, a bit of the journey that was there, you know, and that was the best moment for me. It was because, you know, when I played in my career, it was all about me and all about being the best I could be, right? Getting the most out of myself. But then, you know, once perspective hits, right, and in the years past and the years since I graduated, you really realize how many people, like what your village looks like and how they contributed to your success. And so I was so thrilled, like the most excited part of that. And I mean this with 100%, like I'm not lying. I was the most excited because I was going to get to say thank you to all the people that deserve to thank you. And that was the most important part to me.
Well, I watch the NFL Hall of Fame inductions every year, and that almost seems like, again, the same thing. They all get that opportunity to stand up there and in front of this big crowd, not just in the stadium, but, you know, watching on TV, get their opportunity to say thank you again. So, I mean, I imagine that has to be, you know, a pretty good feeling, like you said, to just kind of let it all out. It's like, hey, these are all the people that helped me get to, you know, this point right here.
Yeah.
But now, what are you most proud of when you look back on your career?
I don't think that book has been ended yet. I think it's, you know, being a good player allowed me to have the resume or the clout to transition into coaching. And then, but I feel like when I look back on it, like my tombstone kind of thing is I want people to think that I made an impact. And so, you know, like I want people to think that either, you know, whatever that impact means to you, I just want people to feel like I touched their lives in some way, you know, whether it was, oh my God, like I hated softball, but I had so much fun when I would go and see Rachel once a week, right? Like that's an impact, and that's a lasting impact, and forming relationships with people, I think, is my favorite part. That's why I'm in the coaching for the people, not for the money. And like, that's smart, by the way, because coaching, you don't make a lot of money. So, you know, I'm in the people business. Like I love connecting with people and building relationships. And so when it's all said and done, you know, my teammates, I hope that they feel like I was a good teammate and a good person and someone who really was like their biggest fan. And then as a coach, same thing, you know, like I care about you and I love you and I want you to be a good player and I want what's best for you. That is more important to me than anything else, because I think I have a platform and I can now impact more people now than I ever could. And so I really take that seriously. And it's always like, job number one.
Finally, is there anything else you would like to share, with the viewers, either advice or another part of your journey or your story that you'd like them to know?
I don't know. I think what I've learned, and I think what a lot of people can learn from watching like players who ended up having success, right? Like I had a successful career, is like, what is the definition of success? It's like, I don't know. I don't know if you can just put a bunch of numbers on it. Like I clearly, like numbers wise, like I had a lot of success, but like, if I hated it while I went there, that's not a success. Even if I was a good player, I think enjoying the moment becomes something that is like so important. And I will tell you, I enjoyed every freaking moment, and I stayed present, and I stay present now, to the point where it's like, I'm not real keen on like talking about my career with my players, other than if it's like to connect something that they're going through now. I'm in the moment, like I'm here coaching you, I'm here servicing you. So I think like staying in the moment and understanding like this is happening to me right now, whether it's good or bad, I think is just so important, because like the rest of the stuff will take care of itself. Like, Scott Hall will write your history down. Like you don't have to worry about that, and I wish someone would have told me that when I was in college. Like people will tell the stories about you, but like just enjoy the moment and make the most out of every moment as it comes on. Cause I think I've done that, and I'm very, very blessed, and I'm very content with where I'm at right now, for sure, because of it.
Well, Folden, I thank you so much for joining me here on the MUSB Dugout. This has been great. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. You're the best.
And it was such a joy to watch you play, keep track of all your amazing numbers. Obviously, if I had known I was going to be with the team this long, I would have tried so much harder to keep a hold of all of your video clips and everything, because it'd be so much fun to be able to go back and show so many of your amazing games. And, going back to with your numbers, when I spoke to Shaylin Braxton a few days ago, she wanted me to make sure that I tell you that chasing after your numbers was by far the hardest thing she has ever done in athletics in her career. So, but she definitely. Well,
I'll tell you what, Allie Harrell and Maya Stevenson are making that damn thing look easy. Because I think you're going to be talking to them 10 years from now, and you're going to be talking to them about their Hall of Fame induction and their impact and all that stuff that they've done. The team that's up right now is like so fun to watch. It's crazy. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah, they really are. But Folden, your name will always be there. It doesn't matter where your numbers end up. Your name will always be there. But ladies and gentlemen, Rachel Folden, one of the best, not just in MUSB history, which, by the way, her name appears about 270 times in the team record book, but also in Marshall athletics history, and someone who keeps making history. Again, Folden, thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me.